You have just now tuned into the Organic Vision Podcast, where we are here to keep you motivated to bring your visions to reality, encouraging you to never give up on yourself no matter what. Want to ensure you don't miss an episode or any of our content? Please subscribe to our YouTube channel at ORGVSNPOD and Instagram at ORGVSN_POD. Keep chasing those visions, y'all.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Welcome back, man. Welcome back to the Organic Vision Podcast, man. I hope you're having a blessed day out there today. We are back with episode number 5, the podcast titled The Reset. Sort of a spinoff of the last pod where we talked about new beginnings. The reset, though, man, is more so we're going to get into a couple of things. So, one, being forgiving, 2, being processing grief, and 3, being finding peace. And again, man, shouts out to my sis C for helping me out with some of these topics, man, to get the juices flowing, to get the podcast going, just to be able to get my take on these topics. And hopefully you can get some value from it while you're out there chasing your vision, while you're out there on that journey. Before we get started, man, just don't forget to follow us and hit the subscribe button, man, so you know when we post. I try to have episodes up every Friday. That's the goal for now, and that's how we're going to move. But if anything changes, I want you to be first up on the list to know. And the way to do that, as you heard in the intro, is to follow us on Instagram at ORGVSN_POD. And you can actually watch the video, which is what you're seeing now, on YouTube. And you could just type in Organic Vision Podcast to find us on there. You can also subscribe to the channel on Apple Podcasts, also on Spotify. So there's a couple ways for you to get with us, man. A couple ways for you to keep up with what's going on with the Organic Vision Podcast. And just want to welcome you back, man. Thank you for joining this journey, following us along this way to grow our community as we continue to motivate those out there, man, that have a vision to go out there and chase it until it becomes your reality. All right. So with that, man, we can go ahead and jump into the first topic that we got for today, which is forgiving. I think it's very important to forgive, man, while you're chasing your vision. When you finally found this thing about whatever it is that you want to go after, whatever it is that you want to do, this new beginning, this reset that you're trying to have with yourself. And sometimes it doesn't really have to be about you chasing something, or it doesn't have to necessarily be about a business or a dream or a goal. Sometimes it could be just for your peace. Sometimes it could be just for you trying to, like, I'm trying to move into this different phase of my life where I want to leave some things behind. I want to leave maybe a little bit of drama behind, or maybe some friendships that aren't meaningful to me right now at this stage in life, or maybe some that I have just honestly outgrown. No hard feelings, no disrespect to any parties involved. It's just that I want to move into this new chapter that I see for myself. And so you may need to do some forgiving before you're stepping foot into those new arenas, or stepping foot into that new phase or that new chapter in your life. So for me, I definitely had to do my fair share of forgiving. A lot of my instances came from family, some others from work, just piecing up, saying peace out to whatever that past situation, whatever that past event was. Just saying, like, all right, man, I'm gonna have to let this go in order for me to get to where I'm going. Because if I'm holding on to all of this that happened and I never forgive anybody, and I'm walking around just like boiling all the time, anybody can say anything to flip my mood, and it's not really even directed to them. It's directed to what happened in the past that I haven't gotten closure with, or that I don't understand, or that I just never had the conversation to figure it out what it is. I feel like communication can save a lot of family relationships, friendships, what have you. But both parties have to be willing to have that conversation. In my case, I'm not going to speak for the party, but I felt that the party wasn't ready just by other attempts that I had made to have a conversation. So if you're in that space like me, where like maybe you tried to communicate it in some form of way to get to an agreement, or not an agreement, but to get to a place where we can both be in this room and respect each other for what we believe in and continue to go forward. If that's not the case, then at the very least, we need not to hold on to whatever happened, whether we was in the right or whether we was in the wrong, in our minds. Because a lot of times it could be dicey figuring out if you're right or wrong if you don't have that party to speak with you and you guys go through that together. I think forgiving is very important. I think being a forgiving soul, it's even in the Bible, right? Like you have to forgive even 7 times. I don't know the scripture like down to the T, so don't throw darts at me. But the basis of the story was God was saying that no matter how many times they sin against you, whatever the case may be, you are to be a forgiving soul. So, man, if I'm getting it in so many areas to get, let me try it, right? Let me try to see what it's going to be like. So when you out there, man, maybe it's a situation that you're in, maybe it's a situation that you're kind of going through. Be forgiving and let go. I challenge you that, and I guarantee you, man, you'll get some. You'll get. I'm not gonna say you can get insight, but you're gonna feel a lot better about the situation to be able to move forward into the direction that you want to go. So be forgiving, man. Be forgiving out there. We're gonna roll into the next one, man, which is processing grief. Uh, this is a tough one. This is a tough one, man, because processing grief can be difficult. And there's not one way to process grief. And my way of processing it may be different from yours, somebody else's, so on and so forth. So I'm just gonna give you my experience and hopefully you can take something away from what I did to process it to move to be able to get to a place where you're okay. So I don't know if you heard about it or if you follow my story long enough to know, but I lost a father figure back in 2021, my grandfather, in which I lived with him my entire life up until I moved out to go to college. So essentially, it's a father. And I grew up in his house and I saw him every day. Losing that, for one, was difficult. And I don't know anything in the world that can prepare you for losing someone. Like you can say like, oh, we knew he was coming. We knew some of his days were numbered, but I mean, how are we to know when someone's days are numbered? Like, I don't understand that. But I guess what they mean is the health standpoint, like you can kind of see. But at the end of the day, is really not our call to know. You know, people get in those places of health issues and they live on years later. They get over it and live on years later. So I don't think there's no way to really prepare. And in 2021, I went to the most funerals ever in my life. So many people left this earth, and processing that was a bit difficult, right? Like I understand that my grandfather was in the hospital for a very extended period of time, and you get what the doctor would tell you, like he doesn't have this much time left, and this, and you hear parts from this person, hear parts from that person because I'm some miles away, so I'm like 3.5 hours away. So I think what really helped me was when I did get those opportunities to communicate with my grandfather, when I did get the opportunity to really talk to him, like seeing how the weather was or how the game was, that's fine. But when you really get to talk to them, and you really get to understand how they grew up, they start telling you stories about what it was when they were young and things that they did, and those are some things that I can kind of lean on versus always seeing the image of him laying in the hospital bed. And I say that to say, man, just while people are here, while our family is here, we don't get to pick them, which kind of goes back to forgiving. We don't get to pick who our family is, but at the end of the day, they are our family, and we only get one. We only get one. Once they're gone, they're gone. And I'd rather for us to be in a place where we can kind of we can communicate while we have them, get those memories in while they're here, and instead of like you being in your feelings about something that happened, maybe you take a few minutes to digest whatever that was, but go to the family function. Like get over whatever it is that you have, because a lot of times we get so wrapped up in how we feel about something, we don't even entertain what brought us to this point. What do we do? What was our involvement to get us to the point of like why we're not speaking anymore or why the family dynamic is changing? I would say, man, take every opportunity that you can to speak with your family, to check in on your family, whether it's just a text, phone call, something. Just let them know that you're thinking about them. Let them know that you are here. Let them know that you care, you love them. And when you get the opportunity to have the deeper conversations, have the deeper conversations because now I can lean on those conversations and laugh about them. I can lean on those conversations and be like, man, I could say like, man, my grandfather would say this right about now. If he was here, he would say this, right? And it was difficult to get to that point, but I think it's also helpful to grieve how you grieve, but to take the time to grieve. Not to take the time to avoid it by like working, not to take the time and avoid it by like drinking or whatever it is, whatever you decide to do versus facing the grief. I think it's important for you to go through that process, or else you're going to have it like up on these shoulders. And if you come into and encounter someone and they pushing the wrong buttons, everything on these shoulders, everything in your heart that you never got a chance to get out is going to go to that one person on that one day. Ultimately, I think it's a very difficult topic, right? It's a very difficult situation to be in. But if we are going to be able to, if we want to chase some visions and chase some dreams, we can't bring a lot of stuff with us. It's going to get in our way, right? And until we get a clear head about our mission and what we have going on internally, it's going to be very, very, very difficult to get to a space to be okay. And to be okay doesn't mean everything's clicking, everything's going well, everything's positive. Being okay is being okay with self, where you are, what's happening, what's going on. Like, and I'm not trying to paint a picture of like being okay equals all the stars are aligning. I don't think they ever will. But being okay, meaning knowing who you are, knowing what's going on, knowing where you're trying to go, having healthy relationships, having a healthy circle, going about your day in a very positive way, loving your neighbor as if they were your own. That's how I feel about being okay. I don't think never anything in life is always going to be perfect. It's never going to be that way. But we have the opportunity to redirect ourselves when we get in these spaces of like, I'm a little unsure about this, or I don't know how I feel about this. But I think communication can be key when we are in those instances. But grieving, I definitely had to take some time, you know, to not be so busy and actually grieve. I cried. I I wasn't shameful of where I cried, how long I cried, and with whom I cried with. I feel like everybody doesn't cry though. I mean, you don't have to cry. It's just a matter of you processing it and understanding what has happened and coming to terms with that. But taking the good out of the situation, which would be, I know me and my grandfather talked about my progress in life and where I was at certain phases. And he enjoyed this about it, and he enjoyed that about it, and he incorporated a little lesson about how to do this and how to do that. So if he were looking at me from where he is now, what could I do to continuously make sure that he's okay with where I am because of what he told me, right? So in your situation, whoever that family member was or whoever that loved one was, what would they say about how you're processing things? I'm pretty sure they're not going to say, "I want you to keep crying because I'm gone. I want you to keep grieving, or I want you to keep having a hard time because I'm no longer there." I highly doubt that is the case. So there's that aspect of it, of like, how would this person want me to go on or carry on? But if we didn't have those conversations, which is why it's so important to open up now while you have them, talk to them now, whatever it is that's stopping you from doing that, find a way to overcome it, because we're not all promised tomorrow, right? So why not take some time to kind of figure it out while you have that person here? So when they're gone, you can be more in a state of like honoring that person's life versus having the hardest time that they're gone because we didn't get to do this and we didn't get to do that and I didn't get to say this and I didn't get to tell them that and I didn't get to, we get into what we didn't get to do, but we never get to really process. And I know, man, life is busy. And like I said, every interaction or every form of communication doesn't have to be face to face, right? We're in a day and age where we have mobile devices where we can just FaceTime somebody, we can text somebody, or just simply do a quick call, whatever the case may be, man. But I will challenge you to do this. If there's any family dynamic that you have going on right now that you feel a way about, and you feel like you want to address it, address it. If you feel like you don't. But at the end of the day, you need to be okay with that situation. And if it calls for you to forgive, you need to forgive. If it calls for you to grieve, you need to grieve. But we need to be able to do these things in order to move on, in order to move forward and incorporate that life, incorporate that loved one along your journey. You can always incorporate them and what they stood for with your work, with your creativity, with how you move, with if it's something they always said, take that with you. Right. So that's a little bit about how I grieved when I lost my grandfather. I mean, and you still gonna have days, right? We all still gonna have days where it just hits us. We're like, man, they really gone. And now I can see the impact that they had in so many different ways now that they're no longer here. Right. But I want to be able to see that and honor that and congratulate that while they're here. So then that forces me to open my mouth when I'm in front of them. And so you do the same. Man, that takes me to my next point, which we kind of been hitting on it with these first two, like talking about forgiving and also talking about processing grief. But once we've done those two things, we need to be able to find some peace, right? So, especially with the forgiving piece, right? I think it's important if we're in this space where we need to forgive someone for something, understanding and setting proper expectations of what our goal is. Our goal shouldn't be to continue to argue. Our goal shouldn't be to continue to disagree. If we really cared about the person, our goal should be like, let's have a real conversation about how I feel. You can tell me how you feel. We're going to respect each other for what our feelings are, but we're still connected by blood or friendship or a bond. So we shouldn't let anything really get in our way. And I feel like if you're leading with that, then we can't speak for the other person, right? But if that's how we're leading, you have to pat yourself on the back for that, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like if we found ourselves at this place where we have to have a conversation about forgiving someone for something, set your expectations of like what do you want to get out of this interaction before you have it. And once you know, you take the steps, you do what you need to do, and you let it be. But you have to forgive, and that's going to help you find some peace. That's going to help you find a spot or a phase or that chapter that you're knocking on the door at. That's going to be the key to open the door, right? One, if you're dealing with that. Another way of finding peace, I feel like you have to understand what's pulling you away from the peace, right? You got to figure out what are these pieces in place that are like pulling me away from the peace that I'm trying to get to. That can be many different things. That could be a job. That could be a friendship, a relationship. That could be so many different things. But let's just say for me, or I can only speak for myself, some of the things that I was finding difficulty with finding peace was how I was spending my time, where I was spending it, and the appreciation that I felt I should get while spending my time in these places, in these rooms, right? One being my career that I had at the time was not very conducive for what I really wanted. Was not very conducive for me to find peace in. Two, I think it was just me understanding who I was and where I was at that time. We grow as a person over time. We change into different people. Like we start to uh, define what we want by making those changes. So to find peace, man, I got to really understand what am I supposed to be doing, right? Trying to find a purpose, trying to find something that you can marry, but you really married to it. Like I can say I've had ideas about things that I wanted to do, and I started to do those things, and I was like, whoa, all right, now I don't. I thought I wanted to do that, but I that's not me. And we are scared to take that risk because we scared to feel that we made a mistake or that we failed, right? And so I think being able to find your peace, you have to take some risk. You have to take some risk on how you're going to spend your time. How are you going to change some things that's preventing you from getting to that peaceful place? And you know what those things are, right? I don't need to help you understand what's causing or what's taking peace away from you. You know that. I know that for me. And there's only one thing or things we can do to get to that place. So we know it's something that we either need to eliminate or something we need to alter, something we need to make some alterations to. And once you feel confident enough of like, all right, I really want to do this because I'm really fed up with what's going on, or I'm just past the point of no return, then that's when you make those changes. And that's when you're seeking peace. And that's when you're seeking purpose. And that's when you're seeking something bigger than you, something bigger than myself. And I found that with Organic Vision. I found that with like, man, I really think my impact is motivating people. And to me, I'm not saying it as if I'm a very accomplished person for you to listen to me. That's not what I go off of. I go off experiences. So I think experience is better than a piece of paper. Experience is better than a 4-year degree. I learned that real time, real life. Hopping out, ready to get a job, you know, shining flat, waving my paper around. Yo, look, I got my paper. I'm ready. I got my piece of paper. I'm ready to go. I got well, nah, that's over exaggeration. All right, let's keep it realistic. I would say maybe 20, 25 interviews, could be more over a span of a couple of months. Just hitting it hard. Job fairs, career fairs, hitting it with my bro, Mike. I mean, he could tell you like we was hitting it hard, and I could get an interview like that. But the issue was I ain't had no experience. I had no experience, and people. It was a bad time. Real estate crash. It was a bad time to be looking for a job as a brand new professional, entry level career. And I got told experience, experience, experience. You don't have it. And so that's why, I mean, I don't get in my head about like I don't have these accolades, and you shouldn't either. Like I don't have this accolade. I don't have this. I'm not a whatever. Whatever we say we're not, forget it. Use your experience. And that's what I do. If I have some experience in a field or an area, I'm only sharing my experience. I'm not telling you anything that I didn't go through, which is how I can speak to it and how I can be true to what I'm speaking to and authentic. And I don't have to make up anything. Like you should be able to tell through how I'm telling you these things that has happened, in hopes that it can bring you some value that I went through it. Right? I went through losing my grandfather. I went through trying to find some peace. I was lost. I was trying to do everything under the sun, and it wasn't working. And I had to take those risks to try those things to figure out I got it. I got it. I know what I'm supposed to be doing now. And that's what I'm doing. So I hope you can do the same, man. I hope you can take that risk, take that leap of faith, be confident that you want to make a change, and be confident that one very important thing I think is I'm not gonna say demanding it, but standing stern in your change, in your phase of change for peace. Being stern in that, not being influenced to like be kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I think has really helped me. So, for example, before I jumped out the window for like Organic Vision and the clothing brand and the podcast and then all of that, it was first me wanting to do it and not letting a single soul stop me because I had gotten to a place where I was like, nah, this is it. Nah, this is it. This is the thing. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I think you got to get to that point in that place on your journey, on your path, when you're chasing that vision. You have to be like in it. And no one can talk you out of this. No one. No matter what they say, no matter how much data they have, no matter how much experience. If you're creating a path, listen, nobody can tell you how to create a new path. It's your path, it's yours. It's something that you're doing for yourself. And I get it. We lean on people for like information and how they did things, but people always going to tell you how they did something because it worked for them. And you may not be doing the same exact thing, and you may not be the same type of person. So I need you to be confident when you decide that you want to go down this path, you decide you want to chase this vision, be confident and be stern and be open to new ideas. I'm not saying don't take no type of advice from nobody. And if the van is about to go off the bridge, you go off the bridge with the van. No, let's be smart. Let's be realistic about our visions and our journeys. What I mean by that is when you say you want to do something and you really want to do it, you're passionate about it, you know this is your thing, you know this is what you want to do, you're going to do it no matter what. You take that thing and you can change it. You can change the mechanics of it, the inner workings of it, but the thing itself never changes. The destination never changes about what we want. Now you can take information from somebody that has done it in the past, but you need to incorporate you in it, not do it verbatim how that person did it, because it's going to do nothing for you because you're not the same person. So when you get that thing, when you find out what it is, hold on to it. Don't let it go. Don't let it go. Alter it all you want. Alter it all you want. Change, switch it up. Go back to the business plan, rewrite a section of it. But if it's something you're passionate about, don't throw it out the window just because somebody said you can't do it. All right. So, man, thank you for coming back, man, to this Organic Vision podcast and joining me for episode 5, where we talked about the reset, man, finding some peace, forgiving some people out there, and finding a way to grieve, man. I think this was a good podcast. I think this was a good one, man. You guys are really helping me on my journey. I really appreciate all the love, all of the likes, comments, and shares, man. All the subscribers out there. I appreciate all of y'all, man. Don't forget, man, to follow us on our Instagram page at orgvsn.pod to keep up with us, to know when the next pod is coming out. Also, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, man, at orgvsn.pod. And podcast audio only is always going to be on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Listen, if it's something you want to hear my take on, something you want to talk about, or maybe you want to come on and join me, let us know, man. DM us, send us a message, drop a comment, drop a like, drop a share, man. We're going to keep pushing the vision. Until next time, man, keep chasing. Peace.